Freshwater, saltwater, watch out, boys. Bass Daddy Don's gonna make some noise. It's me and the boys gonna shake, rattle, and...
Now, here's your host, saltwater fisherman, the man that fears no fish, Bass Daddy and Tournament Pro, Don McDowell.
Yeah, man. Hey, I'm Don McDowell. This is Shake, Rattle, and Troll, and in the house with me is my good friend, my co-host, my wingman, and the guy that speaks to elk.
Yeah, good morning, Bass Daddy.
Johnny Colazar, a.k.a. Special K from the ADA.
Amen, brother.
What's happening, man?
No, I'm really looking forward to today. This is kind of one of those pumped-up days. When you get Donald Trump Jr. in the studio, I'd say that's pretty top-notch.
We're going to have that top of the second hour. A lot of stuff going on the presidential race. And, in fact, the turn of events here in Arizona is pretty interesting. We got notification from Dr. Kelly Ward. She's going to take on Jeff Flake.
Oh, really?
In the 2018 primaries coming up, Mr. Flake decided to continue running his mouth about stuff, and she just goes, all right, bring it.
Yep, I'm done.
And, wow, it's going to be interesting how it turns out. Donald Trump was here yesterday, and turnout was, about like he always has, somewhere between 15 and 20,000 people talking to the folks about
what is and what should be.
Well, he's done a good job, and the pivotal thing for Arizona, we sit on the balance. The Democrats keep doing what they're doing nationally to all the states, especially the western states. And I'd encourage you guys, if you have time, go to your computer, Google the federal fault line, and you can see what JK and I have been talking about, how the West was lost. There's still a big discussion going on about public lands.
Public lands that are not for the public. They're monument designation.
Okay. Well,
that's a huge difference.
Let's look at Nevada.
Yeah.
Nevada's 85% plus or minus, whatever it is.
Federal.
Public lands.
Yep.
They're the hotbed of the horse and the burro issue, as is Arizona. We're facing more failed government policy, and we talked about that with Don Trump Jr. to a certain extent. Mr. Trump's all over it. In his 100-day contract with America, one of the things that I found to be really neat was, okay, if we're going to implement a new federal policy, guess what? We're going to do away with two.
Good.
Which makes sense.
Absolutely. We need to slim down the bureaucracy and the government. I mean, more people are going to work for the government than do any other productivity work. It's amazing. If you start looking at how many people are involved in either state, local, or federal governments, it's amazing how many people are not productive in our service-based industries.
Well, you take a look at the traffic patterns on a national holiday.
Yeah.
Okay.
When the real workers are out
on
there?
A normal day, it'll take you an hour and a half to get from one side of town to the other. On a holiday, you can just run 85 miles an hour.
Yep.
Gone.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I do. I've said you.
Of course you do.
You could.
I do.
Okay.
The Prius will do that.
Yeah. So, as we move into November 8th, I think it's really important, for the sportsman community to take a look at what's happened. We have an onslaught. And John, here's the deal. No matter what happens on November the 9th, we still have a fight. We're either fighting the same old crap that we've been fighting,
right,
at a new level. The Supreme Court is at serious risk.
Yeah.
The Bill of Rights, serious risk. The Second Amendment, honestly, I'm convinced if Hillary gets in, it's gone. They're going to come for the weapons in some form or another. The other part of that is it's okay to have weapons as far as they're concerned because they're going to deal with the bullet manufacturers.
Yeah, that's how they're going to wipe it out.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, one thing after the next.
I always looked at ammunition as something that was just there. Now?
It's not.
I mean, it's like dealing in commodities, It's a black market.
Absolutely.
We're going to have pot legal and ammunition illegal.
Yeah. You know, and there's a show, and I'm not going to name the radio station that it's on, but 2 hours a week, these guys sitting here talking about legalized marijuana. You're like, what in the hell is going on? That's the epitome of what's wrong in America.
Exactly.
Is that attitude. And I'm going to get off of it, but my point is, thank God they don't hunt and fish. I'm just saying. So.
No, that's a little bit too... You can't do that kind of thing when you're stoned because you are not in the moment.
I get it, but it's just, wow. Anyway, I want to move beyond that real quick. We've got a fight going on. It looks like Arizona has taken the swing back to the Republican side. And if you believe the polls, then I think they're heavily tainted on the left as they come out. But it seems pretty interesting now that, Hillary started throwing millions of dollars at Arizona. And Kirkpatrick has been a huge Obama care advocate. John McCain's been pounding her into the ground. And this past week, I think, has been probably one of the most interesting weeks we've ever seen in the past 16-month period during the presidential run. All the bombs that these guys are dropping. I mean, one week, somebody will drop something on Hillary. The next week, she drops something on Donald Trump, and it's been going back
and forth. Punch, like counter punch.
Yeah, last man standing. And this last thing with James Comey, I don't know what's driving that. He should have done this the first time. I don't know whether I'm going to say I don't know whether he's had a wake up call of conscience and good judgment. I don't think that's the case. I don't know what's driving this second investigation, other than the fact that Uma Abedin is tied back to her family, to the Muslim Brotherhood, who has sponsored their family, and there is a trail of the Muslim Brotherhood all the way from Iraq right down to Hillary's camp.
Yep.
So, and Andrew Weiner, man,
that guy's a piece of work.
Yeah, well, he is, but, I think, I spent a couple of days up in Utah with Doug, and we went down to Senator Lee's office and Congressman Stewart's office. And the big buzz up there is similar to what it is here. And, I had some time to interact with the populace there at St. George for a full day. And it's basically Trump country up there, which is pretty interesting. Yeah. And, some of the things that they're concerned about, we're concerned about. Big discussion on the Bears Ears Monument, what's going to happen to that.
They're anticipating it, aren't they?
Well, I think we all are. There's nothing we can do to stop whatever Obama thinks he wants to do, whether it's good judgment or continued failed thought process. The CEQ is the one directly responsible for.
That's Heidi Goldfuss, right?
Yeah, the push on the monuments. We've lobbied long and hard with the White House that, look, we don't want this. We already have federal lands management, especially in northern Arizona. It is micromanaged.
Yeah.
So
it is not regulated, but is managed. And that's one of the things that we see a lot more now is that the federal government will put in all types of rules, stipulations, et cetera, for every piece of land that they have here in Arizona, but they have absolutely no way of enforcing it whatsoever.
This is the problem that we're getting into with Tonto National Forest. Yep. They're squandering their budgets. They get budget increases every fiscal renewal, and here we go. They're one of your hot buttons, OHV rules, travel management plans. They can't enforce the damn thing.
No.
But yet we keep having more regulation. They're talking about more wilderness because they can't or haven't been able to manage their money and keep up with enforcement levels like they should have been in the beginning. And it's just more case after case after case. And I'm getting tired of saying it. Closure and management by restriction.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's management by closure. If you're not allowed out there, they don't have to worry about enforcing anything. Well, you're not touching it.
Another point in case, when we had the budget failure 2 years ago, Tonto National Forest couldn't keep the launch ramp open because they didn't have money to clean a bathroom.
That blew me away. Absolutely blew
Fact
me
of
away.
the matter, and we damn near had an armed insurrection. They have a MOU not with Gila County, which I find extremely difficult to understand, but they have one with Maricopa County, and our friends from Maricopa County are up there guarding the gates to make sure we don't blow the locks off the gates so we can go fishing.
Mm-hmm. Why? How is that's in Gila County?
It is. And
What
why
is Maricopa is doing that?
I don't know.
Okay.
There is a thought process there that maybe it doesn't have a trail. I don't know. Anyway, when we come back, we're going to bring you up to speed on 1437. That would
She is an awesome lady.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Some wild horses out on the Salt River that aren't there anymore. I'm Don McDowell.
Special K.
We'll be right back. Thanks for joining us.
Niagara Falls.
Yes, I have. That's no place to be riding in a barrel.
No, not now. Mm-mm.
All right, hey, here let's talk a little bit about the Mexican gray wolf issue. There is a predator, let's say.
Yeah, she is.
Her name is F1437, who has been credited with 9 predations
On cattle.
Yeah, on cattle. Not telling what else they've taken down. The Fish and Wildlife Service had a 3-strike rule.
That's 3 times 3.
3, you take out three livestock,
You're gone.
they take you out. This one is credited with 9 for sure, maybe as many as 12. Why haven't they managed it, JK?
That is a really, really good question. She's collared. They know her by her markings. I don't get it. Why not? She should have been removed. And she is not of a unique genetic quality that she's mandated to be kept.
It's my understanding this was a wild wolf that obviously had to be in captivity for a short time, but my point is it wasn't raised in captivity, so it's not used to human interaction. And
it's not one of the ones that they call doing bad wolf behavior because they've been raised in pens and reared on roadkill elk or cattle. No, this is a wild animal that has taken a turn for the left, and and when you have an animal like that, it basically spreads its knowledge on the ease of attacking our basically livestock. It takes that easy path all the time rather than doing the hunt, and so consequently it is not doing what it's supposed to do. That's why they try and remove them.
Well, one of the things that we've seen happen recently is the social outcry, misunderstanding, in leftist environment, litigant sob sisters. I can go on and on about Cecil the lion.
Oh, don't go there.
Well, here's what's happening. We keep getting distractions and diversions to keep us off point. We've had a rogue jaguar come across the southern Arizona border. He's been humanized. It's El Jefe.
Yeah, he's got a name. He's got a
they've got him in the
disposition.
Smithsonian magazine dressed up with a nice suit and a tie that'd make Ted Cruz envious.
Yeah.
And
They'll make
they're
a hell of
doing
a
murals, in some of the cities and towns that are involved down there. So Cecil was humanized. He's got a name. He was a bad lion. A couple of days after Cecil was taken out, a lion went into the village where Cecil was, and another lion consumed 3 villagers.
But nobody said one word about the villagers.
No,
it was all about Cecil being whacked by a dentist.
they're not talking about it. And what the school of thought is humanizing things. Look at the wild horse on the Salt River. They've named these horses. Now, last week, I know you were we checked your alibi.
Thank you.
Albeit you were home sick in bed, but There was no witnesses to that effect.
Well,
and I know you have
in a worst case scenario, I probably could come up with a witness that was with me.
Well, I know, just like Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Can I get a witness? Yeah, okay. I know you got black shorts. I know you got a green shirt.
I do.
Yeah,
I have both.
Somebody wearing those were seen popping horses on the Salt River.
I don't like what they're doing out
Absolutely
there, but I
not.
would not just go out and just start popping horses.
No, I'm not condoning that at all.
No.
There's ways to manage these guys.
And they do need to be managed, and they're not being.
Sniping is not the answer to it.
Oh, God.
And quite frankly, I hope to catch and prosecute these guys because it makes everybody else look bad.
Yeah. I mean, we are not in favor of, and quite frankly, if you have all the time, think about this. If you have all the time in the world that you go out and drive out to the Salt River recreation area all the time, and you're naming these horses and they're your friends and your pets, you need a life.
Exactly.
Period. End of story. You got way too much free time.
Well, this is happening more and more. We've got people up in Flagstaff that are changing their names. To coincide with the Mexican gray wolf. Are they a magnificent animal? Yes, they are.
There's a lot of them, though. There's not. Why do you pick one to supersede all others? And that's the problem with the horse lovers of America. They are single species, relationship oriented to the exclusionary process of all the rest of the animals in God's green earth. You can't tell me that a stallion is any better looking than a 7x7 regal elk. I'm sorry. I can't choose between the two.
Well, what kind of a issue came out of the Republic? E.J. Montini's always got something to say, and I see his name, and I automatically throw the paper down and wipe my butt with it.
Well, he thought that we should all, even though we have all these issues that we're conflicted about all the time, we should all gather around Kumbaya, the horse issue on the Salt River Recreation Area, for just the devastating loss of 3 animals.
Well, did Mr. Montini ever think about adopting one himself? There are 45,000 of them that need a home.
Absolutely. The Midwest, we're paying $80 million a year so that they can be pampered. If everybody would just do their fair share.
Whoa. Let's bump that up just a tad to about 1.5 billion.
Is it getting that bad? I know the official budget for the Wild Horse and Burro Act each year is $80 million.
Well, that's a far cry from what they've created. And again, this is federal bureaucracy that has a failed management policy. They had the fiduciary responsibility of keeping these guys, the wild horse and the burros, by a federal act in manageable numbers in manageable areas, and they failed to do that, and the damn things are everywhere. We're like 40, just in Arizona alone, we've got 4,000 more burros than we should have.
Yeah, we've got a total of 6,000. We should only have 2,000 burros spread throughout the state. Instead, we have 6,000, and they're going to start, they already have, they're crossing the highways, there's a lot of interaction, and they're denuding everything.
Yep,
they're going to run us out of house and home and water.
Well, I found it interesting. About 3 years or 3.5 years ago, I blue slipped the commission on the feral hog issue, and everybody laughed.
They shouldn't have.
They did. They laughed. They just laughed out loud. Yeah, okay, McDowell, get out of here. So what we've done is created a feral hog hotline for those folks that encounter feral hogs in Arizona. We're asking, please give me a description of the animal, a GPS waypoint if you can. So we're plotting and charting and all of that. Doug and I stopped up at Quail Creek Park there, just outside Hurricane, Utah. Talked to the folks at the DNR. We were talking about the strip and all that. And guess, lo and behold, what came up?
Hogs.
Feral hogs all over the strip. What are you guys going to do about them?
Are you serious?
Yeah, John, as I'm sitting here, I was floored. Oh, really?
I had not heard that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody kind of laughs, McDowell's out of his mind. Here's another issue. We've got horses and burros to the point that they're mismanaged. We've got them Texas, New Mexico, and Oklahoma, on and on and on. They've got so many feral hogs, they will never, ever be able to aerial gun them or barbecue their way out of this problem.
No. And that's the sad fact, is that even aerial gunning. Texas is horrid.
Let's say they've got a population of approximately 4 million. Sport shooters take out about 25% of those annually.
Which is 1 million.
In order to keep the population stagnant or constant at the 4 million, they would have to take out 60 to 70%
every year.
Yeah, just because of the birth proliferation.
They do breed, don't they?
I'm going to leave that one alone. Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple times a year. Free range bacon.
Yeah, baby.
All righty. Hey, man, we'll be right back. Yeah, man. Hey, we're back. We're going to change gears and talk to our good friend, one of the best guys on the planet on the left coast. He can't help it. That's just where they happen to keep the boat. Captain Bill Wilkerson, mayhem on the Malahini. Captain, what's happening, my good man?
Hey, good morning, guys. How you guys doing today?
Yeah, we're having fun. You know, it's kind of wait and see what's going to happen to Hillary Clinton or what she's going to drop on Donald Trump next week. So it's...
Oh man, that's been a very interesting. It's been interesting. That's all I'm going to say.
I'll tell you what, Bill. If it wasn't so tragic, it would have some high entertainment value. But
well,
wow.
Saturday Night Live has made a great play on all of it too.
Yeah.
What's up, Mr. KJ?
How you doing, Captain Laidback? KJ's here doing fine.
Yeah. You past couple weeks.
I've been busy.
You were out hunting.
You know what? There is nothing better for me than being up in the mountains this time of year calling in elk. I'll tell you what, that works for me.
Oh, I can understand that.
We
got off the dock today and yesterday.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was pretty good fishing. Rockfish. I think our cod season started. That yellowfin and stuff they're catching is way too far for us to get to. So we switched gears. It was a good thing. It's a very good thing. You know, we had 13 anglers yesterday. I'm not sure what we got out with this morning. I know we had 7 reservations. I'm not sure what we wound up with getting out.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, excellent codfish, and nice size reds, nice size group salmon groupers, and just a mixed bag. Freezer fillers is what we call them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Are you bouncing around the Coronados, or you're staying in U.S. waters?
Oh no, we're bouncing around the Coronado Islands, hanging out.
Yeah, that's a good place.
Yeah, well, you figured the California shuts off December 1st, and we want to get a nice, as firm as a hold on this run, you know, while we can. I think we're hauling out probably Monday or Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. And January 1st on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, I should have said. And I'll get that taken care of. And hopefully be back in the water by the first or second week of February.
Wow.
Ooh, that's a long shot.
Yeah, that's the plan as we see it. It might be shorter. We planned for a month. It may be only two or three weeks.
What all's on the maintenance schedule?
We're actually in the process of making that list right now.
To-do list. Who puts together the honey-do list for the Malahini?
Right, we've got some engine work to take a look at. You know, not replace, but just for routine maintenance stuff for the most part.
Okay, is there a paint job involved?
I don't know. I don't know if we're going to be able to afford that or not. Probably buff the hole out and spot paint. You know, some areas of the boat that paint is cracked off and peeled and stuff. Well, we're going to be hauling out up north this year in Long Beach.
Really?
And they use a rail lift as opposed to a sling, which will eliminate a lot of the cracking and everything else. So I think it's going to work out just fine.
Yeah, that's pretty good. We hauled out over at Kohler Craft on their rail car. I wasn't real comfortable. You know, your boat's twice as big as mine, and but I just wasn't real comfortable slinging a wooden boat. So we put it on the rail car, hauled it out, and I was pretty impressed with the way they handle stuff. It just was 20 minutes and bam, we're out of the water.
Right. We hauled out. We've hauled out in the past at it used to be Knight and Carver. It's called the Marine Group now. And in the past 2 years, we've hauled out at Driscoll's, and we spend $4,000 on a paint job.
Wow.
And as soon as they put it in the sling and lift the boat, gear, you walk around the boat, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Cracks everywhere, dude. It's like, this is retarded. Granted, it may cost us a few more ducks to go up north because they do all the work. And I mean, but if you sit down and you think about it, all the work that they do versus, all the stuff that we do, it averages out, in my opinion.
Sure.
We don't have crew payroll. We don't have to go out and buy supplies. Just pull the boat up there, park it. They pull it out the water. They do what they got to do. Put it back in the water. We come home.
Yeah, you can't beat it, Bill. That's that's what we do every day, and it's just simple to say, hey, you got a guy that knows what he's doing. He gives you quality work for a reasonable price. Get it done.
Exactly.
You can mess around all you want to and nickel and dime and try. While you're trying to save a nickel, you'll spend 50 cents trying to find that nickel.
Oh yeah.
So
most definitely.
Yeah, good.
So that's what's going to happen with the boat. I'm guessing January, first week of January, February, something like that. We will be. I'm hoping back in the water, like I said, the third week of January. Get ready for this spring, or winter yellowtail, early spring, whatever you want to call it, February and March. And if it doesn't pan out, hopefully we're conditioned and set up enough to run, 3-4 days a week to continue our rock cod season. Honestly, I would like to have that rock cod season run through the first week of March like it used to.
Yeah.
And then we start fishing, the spring yellowtail. And then we get into the, sand bass and the barracudas. And then, yellowtails at the islands. And I'm so over this offshore stuff.
Well, the overall outlook is, for as late as it is in the year, for October 29th, the San Diego dock totals, they had 9 boats, 12 trips, 287 anglers, and Malahini's a big part of this, 461 rockfish, 139 yellowfin, 50 mackerels, 23 red rockfish, lobsters, whitefish, sand bass, and
yeah, I mean it's for me it's that time. It's time to switch gears. We're gonna run I put it on for last Sunday, but we didn't get enough people to get off the dock. Focus, in the morning. Focus. So we're done on cod. Then we go look for something else.
Well, this is you guys do well on yellowtail. When they're around, the yellowfin, the bluefin, so on and so forth. But your guys' forte is going out and going fishing and catching fish.
Taking people fish. Bottom line.
Yeah.
What's the minimum quantity? I've got both my sons and their buddies from high school, they get together still to this day, and there's about 10 of them. They want to go fishing.
Bring them all out, put them on the boat, 10 people or more.
10 people?
If they wanted, if they wanted a trip for just themselves where they didn't share the boat with anyone else, then this time of year it'd be about $2,900 to $3,300.
Okay.
They come out, pay it, ticket price, want to fish with 15, 20 other people. It's $146. That includes your license and your Mexican permit.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to gear everybody up for next spring, but Bass Daddy has to be there to show us all what we don't know. I'm in. So that's the way we're planning on running it early next spring before you get crazy busy with everything and the heat sets in here. Just before that, we want to come out.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. So you'll come out with your sons, but you won't come out by yourself. What's up with that?
Lazy.
Look, Bill,
I understand.
You've got enough stern ropes. We'll have
lash me down.
KJ on a rope.
Yep.
If the rope breaks, he's got his little fanny pack floaties, so he's good.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I get it. It's bonding time, and I'm okay with that. Bonding is good. my son and I bond over video games. He lives in Virginia, and we'll get on after I get home from work about 9. We'll be up till 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 1:30 my time, and we're talking and playing video games.
Nice.
Just he and I. It's way cool.
Yep.
It gives us it gives us a chance to really communicate with one another. And half the time, about an hour into the games, just at the games, put the games down and we just talk.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. Very, very cool. I enjoy it.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
My son works for Airbnb, and he travels all over the place now doing work for them. And for him, it gives him a whole new perspective of travel. That's for sure. And
most definitely.
yeah, so he.
This is a young man that was trapped over in France.
Yeah, he was in France last year when they had the bombing. He was less than a mile when they had all those assassinations. Yeah, he sent me a text. He said, "Just so you know, I'm okay." And I thought, I have no clue what you're talking about, Justin. What's going on?
You didn't know he was there.
Well, I knew he was there, but we didn't know anything about the any of the bombings or anything or the killings until 5-6 hours later. We got that
Wow.
I got that immediately. So yeah.
Wow. God is good, man.
Amen.
God is good. That's all I can say. He looks out. Never mind. I'm not going to jump on a religious soapbox.
That's okay. Listen, we got about a minute to wrap this up. Anything you want to tell the fishermen?
Guys, if you're interested in filling up your freezer, we run that 3/4 day cod trips. I'm going to try and schedule them for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That gives our guys that want to sneak off work, one of those 2 days an opportunity to come out. They don't want to deal with the crowds. If there's crowds, call the land at 619-222-1144.
All right.
Daddy and KJ, love you guys. You guys have a great day.
All right. God love you, Captain. Captain Bill, check him out. hmlanding.com, 619-222-1114. I'm out of here. We'll be right back.
Amen.
The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down of the big lake they call Gitchagoon.
Yeah, man.
I was there when that went down.
I appreciate you playing that song, Josh, because this is the anniversary of the good ship Andrea Gale that got lost in the perfect storm. Yeah, that was a pretty tragic loss for the fishing industry. And in fact, the first thing I do in January, first trip to San Diego, is go to the Tunaman's Memorial to see how many more names they've listed on the left coast.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty eye-opening. We take what we do for granted, and you look at Deadliest Catch as an example. That's a pretty popular show. I think they've done a lot to educate the masses on where your seafood comes from, to a certain extent.
Do you really think the public knows?
There's a certain, they have to. Deadliest Catch was the number one watched outdoor program, or whatever you want to call it, for years.
Yeah.
And albeit they don't get into some of the other things, McDonald's, as an example, they've got factory ships that catch and process and ship their fillets.
Yeah.
That's all they do.
That's it.
I've got a good friend that's a chief engineer aboard one of those vessels. We've had him on a couple times. It's about time to have him on again when he comes back to Arizona. But yeah, I just think it's.
You mean, wait a minute? There's a Mickey D boat that all they do is catch that whitefish.
Yeah, these boats are contracted. They've got kill, cut, and wrap contracts for certain places. We had Captain Keith on the Wizard. We had him on the show. We did some promotions with him. Kroger, i.e. Fries, were buying their lobster that year. So all the Kroger lobster came off of the Wizard.
Really?
Oh yeah, amazing. Yeah, yeah. I got to spend some time with Captain Keith. He's just absolutely as obnoxious as he portrays on Deadliest Catch. He is. Josh should have loved this. We tried to do an interview with him first thing in the morning, and this guy's drunker than Hooter Brown.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He started telling stories and cursing and carrying on. We just had to cut it off. Yeah, I mean these guys are,
It's a hard life. They live hard.
You know what? It is. And the guys that we talked to, Captain Bill, the guys on the Malahini, any of the, Captain Jim, Chuck Taft, any of these guys, on a scale of the manly man scale, they're right up there on 10 or 11.
Yeah.
I mean, it is hardball. I spent 16 months on the Blue Horizon, and we fished yellowtail early on, February, March. Got ready for the onslaught of when the albacore would come. Late April, early May, sometimes, but up until then, we're still catching yellowtail, convert to albacore, bluefin, yellowfin, the big eyes, in September. If they held into October, we fished as long as there were fish to catch and anglers to come catch the fish. Then we converted to scuba diving.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we ran until basically late December, and then it just got to the point where, you're diving in cold water environment, and a lot of the divers that come from Arizona are the ones that fill up the boats, and quite frankly, you're good for about 30 minutes in a quarter-inch Farmer John wetsuit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cold.
Yeah.
It's just cold.
I noticed that I have a harder time now than ever before handling really, really, really cold temperatures. And that hunter that I was with, that John Miller,
Yeah.
he was dressed lighter than I was. So granted, he had an extra 45 pounds on him
It's called insulation.
insulated, yeah. But he was laughing. He said, "This isn't cold." And he said, "I understand that, but I'm just still wearing just a T-shirt. It's cold to me."
Where was he from?
Missouri.
Ooh.
Yeah. Missouri. And,
Missouri. Okay, I get it.
yeah. By the way, he politely declined that invitation because the, was not exactly, legal.
Really?
Yeah.
That's something we won't discuss
Yeah. Yeah. So,
openly.
Openly. We'll let that one ride.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh.
yeah, good for him. Yeah. Rhymes with bad wolf.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as you see, the website, I spent some time with our marketing strategist.
What's their name, by the way?
Pardon me?
The strategy team?
No, I'm not going to divulge that. They shall remain nameless for a while.
For a while.
We will have some new stuff coming out January, stepping up the pace, doing what we do more on a national basis, on conservation and advocacy elements.
Speaking of which, we get an awards banquet, don't we, this year again?
We do. I hope you're there.
There's a tear in there that you're well aware of, but I will be there for you. How's that, brother?
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, you've been a big part of Shake, Rattle, and Troll, and James Guggenauer, and some of the other guys, the contributors that we have, Captain Bill and Rick over at H&M Landing, Tom Remington, Robert Montgomery from BASS, Gene Gilliland periodically, and all the local guys that chime in. I think next year, moving through this electoral season, once we get stabilized on November 9th or 10th, we'll have a definite strategy on which way we're going, because we need to keep the pressure on for the sportsmen in Arizona and our neighboring western states. The sage-grouse thing is far from over with.
That's not even close.
165 million acres of restriction. Bears Ears is still up in the air. We've got
Grand Canyon National Monument instead of the word watershed because they're afraid to use it.
So that's 1.7 million acres. We've got another 500,000 acres plus or minus, I think, like 446,000 down in Sonora. What was the jaguar
787,000 acres for critical jaguar habitat, all for one single animal that is endangered in the United States because it's out of its historic range.
Okay, let me ask you this from a political
sure, go ahead.
environmental litigant standpoint. Assuming Mr. Trump gets in, I have no doubt in my military mind that he will, in fact, build a wall. What kind of pushback will you get for the environmentalists because the animals can't cross over the border?
Oh, you're going to get one about 6 miles wide and 7,000 feet high. They're going to be screaming bloody murder. It'll be litigated totally because that will not allow for the movement between borders of animals that occasionally, and I specify the word occasionally, come from South America. This is the farthest northern range, basically southern Arizona is, for jaguars when they get kicked out and they don't have anything else to do. There has never been a breeding pair acknowledged in Arizona. But because you got one, El Jefe, he's here, and that he took the place of Macho B, who was old and over the hill anyhow.
Oops. He was murdered.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Well, he was trapped and he basically killed himself by, the way cats do when they get caught in a snare.
Well,
they turn themselves inside out.
Anyway, the responsibility lies with whomever put the noose around his neck.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we've got a couple of minutes. Let me get your thought on Bad Wolf F-1437. What's going to happen with that?
I have no doubt in my mind that sooner or later she's going to be culled out. She has to be. She's a killer. We're trying to figure out, how, wolves they have their own social order, and I get that, but she was for quite some time, and we're going to get all the stats on this and post it on the website. Part of the Paradise Pack, for some reason, she decided to leave, go find a boyfriend, or she was just being a bitch and got kicked out. One of the two.
And she hooked up with another alpha male. They suspect they've got some
pups,
some trail cams. I'm assuming of.
Yeah, she's been spotted on trail cams.
Yeah, the alpha male, 1437, and one big pup.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens to the? How do we hold the Fish and Wildlife Service accountable, or Game and Fish, for that matter, to go out and manage this wolf?
It's like anything else.
What happened to the 3-strike rule?
Well, you have to document. And if
they have 9.
I know. But is it a matter, do they know which animals are doing it? Suspect. Let's put it this way. They suspect they know. Proving it is another thing. But they suspect they know. And the only way they're going to do that is through scat DNA. They can test the scat DNA and trigger it to 1437. They can do that. And that's where she needs to get whacked. Once they do
managed.
Culled, harvested, killed, whacked.
Well, they have an option. They can go in and trap.
Of course they could.
And then what do they do with her? It's
relocate.
Going back. Well, I don't want to relocate. That bad behavior is still going to persist. They take her back to a Bad Wolf hotel.
No, if they relocate them into a zoo, they're fine.
Okay.
That's where she needs to be.
But will they use her as a breeding machine?
Of course. She is what she is. If they don't put her down, then she should go into a zoo. And Ted Turner, I'm sure, would love to have her on his ranch. That's what he does.
Yeah, he can go out and eat his buffalo.
Absolutely. Yeah. Set up his own little paradigm of food. Yeah.
All right. I want to set the table for when we come back. Last week we had the opportunity to spend quite a bit of time actually with Don Trump Jr. was in the studio. Josh did a good job with Robert, and we have about a half-hour interview talking about sportsman's issues, Mr. Trump's issues, some of his thoughts on hunting and fishing and our heritage, and I think it's important. Personally, I think he understands it.
Oh, he gets it totally.
I believe you're right. We did have a discussion early on a couple of months ago that he was told about, the wolves are eating the elk and the deer, and, he had a pragmatic point of view. Like, well, take out the wolves. He's got my vote. I'm voting 2 times.
Yeah.
All righty, we're going to stand down on the first hour. When we come back, we'll introduce Don Trump Jr. I'm Don McDowell with
Special K.
We'll be back. All righty, hey, Don McDowell and John Kohler are here at Shake, Rattle, and Troll. Appreciate you joining us. We've got a really special guest. Don Trump Jr. is in the house visiting with us. As you know, the Arizona polls are up in Trump's favor. We're not a swing state anymore. I think we're going Republican. I know you've got a busy schedule. Thanks for coming in. And before we get started, I know you and Eric are quite the hunters and fishermen. Who's a better fisherman, you or Eric?
I think fisherman. I have to take that one because I do a lot more fishing. Eric's an incredible shooter. You know, we're both competitive shooters as well. We both avid hunters. I do a lot more fishing when hunting season isn't on. So I probably got the fishing one a little bit.
Well, you're in good company. That's what we do. I'm hearing rumors you shot a whitetail buck with a pistol at 150, 70 yards. Is that a true story?
It is. I have a couple, I'm sort of into some of the specialty pistols as well. So I have a couple of the old Remington XPs, and I do all my own hand loading. I'm a competitive long-range shooter. So, I have my go-to deer gun is usually actually a 7mm 08 Thompson Center Encore. And it's,
nice.
it's a great little gun. It, adds that extra challenge because it's a lot harder to obviously support a handgun when you're hunting. So, I like to keep it challenging.
That's good stuff. Let's get started. Let's talk about Mr. Trump. We've been lobbying pretty hard here in the state of Arizona with the Republicans and sportsmen. We've got roughly 800,000 sportsmen here that we hunt, we fish, we vote, and most all of us are Republicans. We've got some concerns nationally. We've got BLM management by restriction, the Forest Service same way. We've got greater sage grouse. The guys on the left want to restrict 165 million acres in 11 states. Going into this, what's Mr. Trump's thoughts on protecting the sportsmen in our heritage?
Well, listen, it's been an honor for me. I'm such an unlikely candidate to be the person, out there speaking for sportsmen. I'm the son of a rich guy from New York, but it was such an important part of my life. Growing up, I always say that because I was in a tree stand at 4 o'clock in the morning, or I was in a duck blind at 4:30 in the morning, it kept me out of a lot of other trouble I would have gotten into otherwise. And so, we want to preserve the great tradition of the outdoors, of hunting and fishing, and certainly shooting. And I always say for me that if I can get a kid off a couch and away from a video game and into the woods or on a stream or on a range, I'm doing them a big service for life. So we got to keep our public lands public. We're actually going away from a lot of the Republican, dogma on that. We want to keep our public lands open and public. Now, we believe that we can use them for multi-purposes. I mean, we can take advantage of the energy that's in our ground. We can do these things, but we got to keep them open to the public, because if you had a place that you used to hunt that was 20 minutes away from your home and now you have to drive 3 hours, well, guess what? You're going to take up golf. You're going to take up a different hobby. It's been such an important and vital part of, my life, my brother's life growing up. We got to preserve that tradition. We got to keep it alive at all costs, and that makes sure that we're taking advantage of our public lands and making sure that they're accessible to the public.
Well, we have a federal fault line, let's say west of the Mississippi, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, Nevada especially is 85% public lands.
Yes.
And there's been some fallout on Mr. Dahl and Mr. Trump had a conversation, and obviously some negative press that he's flip-flopping on public lands. But my point is, you can't come up with a solution in a 3-minute interview on public lands.
No, but what I think the sportsmen have to know and what they have known. I mean, I was a speaker at the NRA show, speaking at I'm a member of Boone and Crockett. Probably the youngest member that they have on there. I mean, this is a big part of our lives. This is a big part of what we do. I've been on the political trail now for a lot, so it's funny. They say, well, you're at a shoot with some other politician, right? I'm like, yeah, you mean the guy with his finger on the trigger with the safety off pointing his barrel at someone? It's like, that guy's not a sportsman. Okay, he doesn't, there's a difference between showing up for the photo op and actually being a sportsman, actually living the lifestyle. And we actually live that lifestyle. And I think, the sportsmen that I've seen around the country, they get it. They see when I talk about hunting, whatever hunting it may be, when I talk about reloading, when I talk about competitive shooting, they're like, wait a minute, that guy knows what he's talking about. He actually is speaking for us. And it's been great because those guys are going to turn up. The hunters, the fishermen, if you have a cold day, especially up north in some of the swing states where you have a little bit more of a weather issue than here, well, guess what? On November 8th, if it's raining and snowing, that's our comfort zone. They're going to turn up.
We have 2 seasons, big summer and little summer.
Exactly. It's a little different, but, the outdoors has been an amazing thing to me, and we're going to preserve it.
I have a question. In terms of, I know that your father has always supported the fact that, number one, he does not hunt, But number two, he has thoroughly supported all of his children if they so desire to hunt, which is what we want from the rest of the public in the United States.
That's all it is. I mean, listen, he was a boy from Queens, right? He didn't have the opportunities that I had, but my grandfather got me into hunting. He was a blue collar guy. Yeah, he was a blue collar electrician from what was then communist Czechoslovakia, right? Yeah. So he was, just a regular, ordinary guy, and he saw the lifestyle that we were growing up in New York, and he said, "That's great. You have a lot of advantage. You have a lot of incredible opportunities with this, but you should also see the other side." And him and my father spoke about it quite a bit. And so from about the age of 5, he took me every summer for 5-6 weeks. I spoke the language fluently because he was a big part of my life, and he basically brought me over there and said, "There's the woods. I'll see you at dark." And so I fell in love. And you couldn't hunt over there because he wasn't a Communist Party elite guy. He wasn't. But I spent so much time in the woods. He taught me how to shoot an air gun. He taught me how to shoot a bow, and then I got into it here. And then I had so many people along the way that served as mentors, and that's why I'm so vocal about it. And I've been attacked for being a hunter, and I didn't do the usual, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'll never do it again." I fought back and said, "Hey, conservationists, this is what they did. We have these public lands, we have the fauna and flora that we have in this country because of conservationists that are hunters are the original conservationists, starting with Roosevelt."
Right.
And so I fought back and I took it, and so many people have been great mentors to me. That's why now that perhaps I have a platform where I can talk about it, and I can talk about the benefits of the outdoors and what it's done for me in my life and what it's going to do for my kids that are all outdoors on every weekend. We don't spend any weekends in New York City. I haven't spent a weekend in New York City in over a decade. We get up, we go to my cabin in the Catskills. They're riding ATVs, they're fishing, they're all shooting. The 2-year-old hasn't shot yet, but all the other ones have.
That's the way it should be.
It's been so beneficial in my life. We got to talk about it, and we got to preserve it, and not back down to these people who try to vilify what we do.
Well, we're concerned like the rest of the country. We've got national security issues. We've got a hell of an open border here in the southern part of the state. We've got a Department of Homeland Security demarcation line in 25,000 plus square miles where it's not safe to hunt because of the illegals coming over, the drug trafficking. We've got monuments here that we're probably going to get when Mr. Lame Duck goes into December. Bears Ears, 1.9 million acres in Utah, another monument. Northern Arizona, we're getting 1.7, it looks like, 446,000. And this is all by executive orders. Mr. Trump ready to attack those executive orders.
He's spoken about that a lot. I mean, whether it's those executive orders or the ones that they've put in place on gun control, which basically only limits law-abiding citizens, does nothing against the actual problem. We won't talk about actually having penalties for people who commit crimes with guns. We'll talk about trying to limit your and my rights because we're the only ones that are actually going to play by those rules. So my father's talked about that extensively. Obviously, each case is an individual one, but these places where they're overreaching, where they're trying to limit hunters' access to do the things that we love, and that's what we got to remember. And that's why, part of my message when I'm talking to hunters, when I'm talking to shooters, when I'm talking to fishermen is, your hobby is hunting, fishing, shooting, and so many of those guys say, I don't want to mix politics with it. It's special to me and it's sacred, and I get that. It is for me too. But the other side, their hobby is messing with your hobby. Nice. It's infringing on your hobby. It's infringing on your rights. It's infringing on, they're basically hunting your freedoms and your ability to do the things that you love, the things you want to do with your kids, the things you want to pass on from generation to generation. So you got to get out and vote. You got to be vocal about it. You can't let, the media and the liberals and the people on Facebook try to paint you in a bad corner because you're a hunter. It's ridiculous. We have to preserve that tradition.
Well, the Dems are trying to, Supreme Court's a big deal for us right here. I mean, we're talking about, a full generation if that goes south.
Well, you probably never recover from that.
No, I don't. How could we?
Because the kids, the next generation, they grow up with this, liberal, activism off the bench, and it just becomes sort of the norm. So this isn't a 4 or 8 year election. This is actually a 30 or 40 year election. When you look at we're not just replacing Scalia, who was, by the way, the tiebreaker in the 5-4 Heller decision, which was just basically, hey, you're allowed to have a gun in your home. I mean, think about it. I mean, that's all Heller said, right? And that was a 5-4 decision that you could have a gun in your home. And Hillary Clinton says the Supreme Court got that one wrong. I mean, think about what that means. I mean, the Second Amendment, right after freedom of speech and religion, this wasn't some afterthought our founding fathers thought of later on.
No.
I mean, it was the second thing that they said in their minds. Like, we got to protect that right so that people can defend themselves. That my wife, when I'm traveling on the road, can maybe take care of my 5 children and protect them in the event that someone much meaner, much bigger, much more aggressive, with much less of a moral compass decides to try to do harm or try to break into our house. I mean, that's not even contestable to me. I don't even know how it's a political firestorm. So, we have to get out and we have to be heard, because if we're not, it's going to be gone, and it's going to be gone soon.
Well, there's one way for her to get the message is take all of her secret security away, take all of her guns, and let her go out and travel like John Q. the plumber.
Well, listen, it's even, I see it in, I live in the People's Republic of New York, right? And I'm a competitive high power shooter, right? So a lot of that stuff is going to be based off an AR platform. I can't even buy an AR in New York anymore. I can't bring one into the state. I mean, I have some grandfathered in because I had them obviously before, but you can't even have that in New York anymore. So I've seen how quickly those rights can disappear, how quickly they can be pulled away from you. And by the way, it's always written by someone who's never been on a range, who's never fired anything. They don't even know what it is. They don't know the difference between semi-automatic, fully automatic. They wouldn't know a muzzle from a trigger. And yet they're legislating. I mean, when the SAFE Act, quote unquote, was passed in New York, literally every police officer in the state was committing a felony because they had full capacity magazines in their service guns going into work the next day. But you had people that had no idea. They're writing laws with something they don't understand. And I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me.
One of the big pushes, one of JK's passionate buttons, Endangered Species Act, with all the listings that don't need to be listed. Any thoughts on that?
Well, listen, everything is case by case. I mean, there are things that deserve to be on there, and the things that they're using it as a scapegoat to try to prevent you from getting there otherwise. Yeah. But, obviously, sage grouse is something that you got to protect it in a way, but you don't have to block off, a quarter of the country and say you can't do any oil development. You can't do any. I mean, we have to be able to take advantage of the things that are on our ground, and there's no reason. We've seen it in some of the states where they've done that. The big potash mine in Utah that was reclaimed and redone. It's like it holds more elk and it holds more mule deer and more sheep than it ever did before it was developed and utilized. So we have to be able to utilize the natural resources that we have. That's jobs, that's our economy, and more importantly, it's national security. Okay, if we're energy independent and we're not beholden to these countries in far-off lands that if they could push a button would wipe us off the face of the earth forever, people who can't stand our values, can't stand anything that we do, we're more concerned about, keeping them employed. Why? Because they donated $25 million to the Clinton Foundation? It's ridiculous. We have to take care of ourselves first, and we have to make sure that we're utilizing these things. I'm not saying it should be done haphazardly. There's ways to do it, but we have the technology to do that, and we have the ability to do that. We should be taking advantage of the resources that we have, putting our people to work, Americans. And these are the hardworking people in America that have just been forgotten by the political class. By the way, by the political class on both sides. I'd say that's a partisan problem, right? Yeah. The people in Washington, they've created all these problems. They have no idea how to fix them because they don't know what they're doing. They become politicians because they couldn't do it in the real world oftentimes. And then they get in there, they get stuck. All their friends are getting the jobs that should be going to other people. They're not even contested. We always knew about it. Now we're reading about it every day in WikiLeaks. The corruption is so rampant. It's disgusting. And, my dad's a guy that can shake that up. He can get in there, he can shake this thing up, and go back to what our founding fathers envisioned, which is, a person getting into government for the right reasons, doing it for a short amount of time, and then getting back into the real world, not parking themselves for 40 years, making promises they're never going to deliver, while stealing, cheating, lying, and selling American influence to the highest bidder for themselves.
It's just absolutely crazy what's going on here in Arizona. I'm really happy to see the poll switch today. I think we're definitely going to go Republican here.
Yeah, no, it feels good. I mean, I had such a great reception. It's an honor to be a small part of it for me. To go around and see so many people who've been so disaffected by the political system. So many people just
absolutely
angry with what their politicians have, the position they've put us in. I mean, think about it. I mean, if you ran your household like these guys run this country, you'd be living on the streets, and yet it's okay for them to do it. And they keep getting reelected, and they keep adding more debt, and it doesn't work.
They keep printing money.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're spending your money. Yeah. They're not spending their own money. That's the difference.
Mr. Trump's, hit a real hot spot with a lot of us here in Arizona. That's the drain the swamp concept.
I love it. I agree.
It
term
needs to
limits,
be drained.
Term limits, and preventing these guys at high level of government, people that know everything, that know everyone, that have our secrets, then going off and lobbying for Qatar, for Saudi Arabia, for these. I mean, think about that. I mean, we allow this to happen. They get into government basically so they can get a job working for the benefit of another country and make millions of it later on. It doesn't work.
Don, one of the things we've been fighting here is the lack of party unity. Mm-hmm. They're on, they're off, they're on, they're off, they're on, they're off, and they're going to pay a price for it.
I think they are, but you know what? You know why that is? Because both sides. Like I said, listen, I'm a conservative guy. I think you've seen that. I think you've heard that.
Oh, absolutely.
But at the same time, even a lot of the guys on the right, the ones that pull and they change their mind, they stomp their chest really loud and they beat their chest really loud, and then they go on the floor of the House or the Senate, and what do? They fold. Exactly. Each and every time, So it doesn't mean anything if you have no conviction. And so these guys, have also gotten very rich off of this system.
Look,
so they see my father as a big threat because
they wanted the Senate.
Yeah.
They wanted the Congress.
Hey, they've had the House and the Senate. What have they done?
And they've not done anything.
You might the Democrats might as well have it because it's not like the Republicans have done anything with it. But so many of the Republicans, and some have been great, and some have been incredibly supportive from day one. Whether it's Sessions, whether all these guys, but the others that just go, they see a system that has got them really rich too. It's not just the Democrats. This is a partisan problem, and they say, "Hey, I don't want someone who's going to shake up this system. I'm really content with this lifestyle. I'm making a lot of money off the backs of the American people. I've got a lot of power. I'm going to do a lot of cool things. I don't want to give that up." So they see my father as a threat because he is a threat to that system. But that's a system that's failed the American people, and the American people have to think about that when they vote.
Well, he's got some awfully good endorsements with the NRA, the Border Patrol. I really applaud him for putting out his 100-day plan.
Yeah.
All the points, the Supreme Court nominees, whatever. It's solid.
Yeah. Well, we also got some great support from the hunting community. A lot of the guys, the big names in the hunting community, whether it's Waddell, all these other guys that have come out, that have just been like, hey, this guy gets it. This family understands our traditions and our lifestyle. So it's just been awesome. Waddell, Keith Mark, Cuz Strickland, all these guys.
For anybody who's going into the political offices, I can't tell you that. I mean, I know one of the Bushes, Bush Sr., he did a little bit of bird hunting once in a while. But for somebody like yourself who is an advocate and who is so passionate about it, which we normally don't see anybody associated with politics in the D.C., the Beltway there, ever being involved in the hunting community. It's refreshing to know that.
Well, there's a couple guys that know what they're doing, and then there's, like I said earlier, there's a couple guys that show up for the photo op.
Right.
I think we had a good one like that when I've hunted with the Robertsons are buddies of mine, and Jace and Willie and all those guys, and they took me out hunting, and that Willie was debating with his father about the presidency. He was like, well, who's the better shot? This is back during the primaries. Like, well, that boy from New York can shoot, and so I was like, that was the ultimate. When Phil Roberts is saying, you're the best shooter they've had in a duck blind in 30 years, it was a pretty good compliment. So I'll take it.
Oh God, yeah, that's awesome.
Would you hunt with him?
Absolutely. I'll call for you any day.
Perfect. I love it.
This guy right here is probably the best elk caller in the state. Yeah.
Very nice. We'll have to change some pictures. I haven't done much hunting this year because right now we're hunting a bigger game kind of deal. But after November 9th, I look forward to getting back in the tree stand and doing a little bit more. But I had to cancel a couple good hunts that I was supposed to be on this year because saving the free worlds may be a little bit more important. A little bit more. It's a close call, but
first the world, then the elk. I like it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good priorities. Let's get this thing wrapped up. What are your final words to our sportsmen?
Listen, I think we've covered a lot of it, but I think the biggest thing is get out. Get your friends out. Hey, you want to believe if I'm real? Like, look me up. Look up me in hunting. You'll see plenty at this point, and know that we're going to be the voice in my father's ear as it relates to these issues, and make sure that we understand what the tradition of the great outdoors means in this country and what it means generation to generation. And I want to make sure that's around for my 5 young kids because I have 9, 7, 5, 4, and 2-year-old. And I want to get them out there. I mean, I actually had my 7-year-old son. I took him on a backpack hunt up in the Yukon. Earlier this summer at 7, because you put a kid in that kind of situation and they can rise to the occasion. This kid was like a little mountain goat, man. He was a stud. I couldn't believe it, and knowing full well that could ruin the hunt. I was out there actually with Mark Geist, one of the survivors from Benghazi, who's become a good friend of mine, and we had an awesome hunt up there for caribou and everything, and but having a little guy in a camp like that, he was one of the guys, and I think that can do a lot for the formative years of a kid. So just make sure that all the hunters get out, get their friends out, call your friends in the other swing states, in the places that matter. Be vocal about it, and more importantly, not just for this election, because the next 2 weeks, obviously, it's very selfish for me to say that, but hunters have to make their voices known. They have to get out there. They have to be vocal, because if they're vocal and they can show that, hey, we're going to show up, we're going to move the needle, we're going to move the needle in these elections, where it may matter even more on a state level in many cases, right? The politicians will actually start catering to you. If you hide, even if you show up but you're not vocal about it, they're not going to think about the issues that matter to you, that matter to us as outdoorsmen. So, it's not just about the presidency right now. This is all future elections. Get out, vote, be vocal, make sure that our issues are heard, because if you're vocal about it and there's enough of us and we're talking about it, guess what? Politicians may actually listen.
I'd like to thank our Arizona guys with the onslaught from the left and the enviro litigants, as John likes to call them. as much noise as they've made, as much going backwards as we've had to put up with. We're taking the fight to Washington. We're taking the fight to the politicians. And my belief is the hunting community's just about had enough.
I agree.
Sierra Club, CBD, and all those guys.
Get involved now before it's too late.
Let's go to November 9th. Seniors going to the White House. What do you have in store for yourself?
I'm going to a tree stand. Yeah, I've missed too many weekends on the road where I haven't been able to hunt. Where he's gonna do that. I'm gonna spend some time with my kids and start my hunting season a little bit late.
Good. Any political aspirations for yourself? I believe that you would be the best candidate for the Secretary of the Department of Interior.
Well, that was the big joke around the Christmas tables. That's the only thing I'd actually want. My father just said it's like the problem is he may just go off into the woods in Alaska, never to be heard from again, which would actually be rather tempting. So, I'll be involved certainly on the periphery. Making sure that the right people are in place for that, make sure that these issues are heard. Again, for me, maybe someday with politics, probably after this process, now that I've seen how the sausage is made, I may have to take a good decade or so just to recover. Because I guess when you're effective, they go after you, and they're going after me. I mean, it is crazy. I mean, I'll remember an interview, and they'll manipulate it so much. I was talking the other day, after the last debate, going into the spin room, and they're saying, well, what about this? I say, well, we're talking, and I say, the Clintons have made $250 million being politicians. They've never created a job, never done this, never done anything other than, sell our influence and peddle influence and yada, yada. I go, for my father, he's not going to do that. He's already made his fortune. When he goes to the White House, it's going to be a step down from salary. Trump Jr. says going to the White House is a step down. It's like, are you kidding? Like, it's so dishonest. You literally can't say anything right. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's not even worth fighting it. Everything's been so sensationalized. So it's not at all what I said, but, the way they manipulate it, it makes it hard for someone who has a life and wants to live it and enjoys what he does already to want to get involved. At the same time, that look in someone's face when they see hope. That you can actually do that. And I've gotten to see that a lot on this trail. It's, so many of these people that are voting for us that, weren't even, conservative voters necessarily. They were Democrats that were their first-time voters that have never voted in their lives. Every day come up to me and say, hey, we just registered last week so we can vote for you guys. You see that look of hope, and it does sort of say, maybe you just got to do it. Maybe you got to do it, and it'd be an honor to be able to do it one day.
Anything to add, Special K?
Yeah, I think the critical aspects of all that he's talked about is that while hunters and fishermen may disagree on certain items, it's very critical this year, of all years, that we all get out and vote. I've already done that. I'm an early ballot caster, so mine's done already, so I can be elk hunting next weekend, which is fine for me. But there's so many issues that are going to be facing us in the future. And the critical aspects of all of this is that if we don't have people who understand our needs, and obviously Donald does, that's the kind of thing that will eventually lay waste to us.
100%. And by the way, that's even within the hunting community.
Oh, I know.
'Cause I see that a lot. I mean, I see that back. I shoot bows, compounds, recurves, crossbows. I hunt with everything. But you have guys, the recurve guys. We don't want crossbows. You know what? I want someone in the woods.
Yes.
Someone in the woods, someone who's buying a license. It gives us critical mass. So I see a lot of even fighting within the community. You see that with some of the guys that like to shoot a little bit further than some of the other guys. It's like, you know what, guys? We're all after the same things. Maybe we do it a little differently. Maybe we do it whatever it may be. But we should all, make sure that we're banding together and really thinking about these things. Because the infight, don't spend your money infighting. It doesn't make any sense. Let's protect the general notion of what we're trying to do.
Good words. All right, we're going to get this thing wrapped up. Listen, God love you. The best of Mr. Trump. Give me my regards. You've got our vote. Arizona's going to carry the Trumps to the hill.
I think so, man. Thank you guys very much.
I appreciate you coming down, Mr.
Thank you.
Trump.
Over and over and over again, my friend. You don't believe we're on the eve of destruction.
All righty, we're going to switch gears, get away from Don Trump Jr., which I thought has some wonderful things to say, and go to downtown Payson with the fishing authority known as James Guggenauer.
Well, good morning, Don. What a tough act to follow.
I'll tell you what, man, you're in good company. I think he's spot on. He's hit the nail on the head, so to speak. And as far as the outdoorsman, the hunting and fishing community, he gets it. Mr. Trump gets it. He's got my vote.
Absolutely. I mean, that interview needs to be played nationally. Every sportsman in the country needs to hear that. But more importantly, Don, kudos to you for setting a platform out there and asking the questions that are important to West Coast and specifically Arizona hunters and give him the opportunity to respond to that. It was just masterful.
Well, I don't think there's not been a lot of coverage on the general presidential platform of hunters and anglers, but if you look at the numbers that we represent, it's staggering. We can throw an election. I mean, just right here, we're talking about the actual number, according to the census folks, Game and Fish and others. They say we have 786,000 sportsmen, which is a big gamut. We also have 176,000 plus or minus a few registered active watercraft that aren't in that 786,000 number. That's 1 million people. That's 1 million people right here in Arizona that can put Donald Trump into office.
Right. And, for us, we sit here and you're listening. When he starts talking about calibers of firearms that he shoots and AR platforms and things like that, you never expect a politician to say things like that. And you're like, that's my guy. I don't care what else he says, that's my guy.
That's right. And I wasn't kidding. I think he'd be the perfect Secretary of Department of Interior.
Yeah. Well,
there'd be a horse in every backyard and a buffalo in every freezer. Come on, J.K., stay with me on this.
I'm not disputing it at all.
It might be vice versa.
We wouldn't have any problem in the Grand Canyon National Park with removal of buffalo, bison, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
The tonka.
Hey, so a couple of good things, getting back to Arizona here. The first thing is that the Game and Fish is looking for volunteers again to help with developing reef balls. These reef balls are going to be habitat deployed into Arizona lakes. So all the anglers out there that are listening, and, I know some other groups, when they started talking about putting these in Roosevelt, they wanted them in other lakes in addition to Roosevelt. Well, here's your chance to go help. Contact Amber Lee Jones at the Game and Fish Department. And she's at akjones@azgfd.gov. And this is a great conservation project for a bass club or any youth organization. They need volunteers. They have a schedule now for the next 3 or 4 months. So if you're in charge of one of those groups, give Amber Lee a call, and she'll get you set up for that.
Good information. Yeah, I think the department's a few weeks away from finally getting over the permitting issue so we can start implement the artificial habitat enhancement. So,
great.
Good stuff.
Really looking forward to that. All kinds of fishing continues to be just excellent up here on the rim. It's getting cooler at night, so water temperature in Roosevelt and Apache was down on Apache Lake this past week in the low 70s to the mid 70s. That water temperature is definitely coming down. You can almost see it day by day. The bass are scattering. I didn't see so much on the surface like we've been reporting the last month, where they're chasing bait fish to the surface and breaking on the surface. But you definitely can see them down in 20 to 30 feet of water. Big schools of bass feeding on shad down there. And some of the shad balls that we're talking about are so big, Don, I got to believe these are gizzard shad down there. I mean, they're just enormous bait balls.
Really?
So, any kind of spoons, we've been talking about a couple different baits, like the Trendsetter baits that we talked about a couple weeks ago. They continue to just work excellent.
Rumor has it Trendsetter Jigs has got a new lure coming out November 9th. It's called Obama Shad. It's black and white with a yellow belly.
Oh, there we go. I knew it.
Did he send me up, J.K.? How long is he?
Yeah, and it's light sensitive and doesn't like to be conflicted. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, okay, you got me, Don. Hey,
you think I'm joking, don't you, buddy? You're going to have the first bag.
He probably will. Knowing Derek, I'll get him in the mail next week.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, so the water level in Roosevelt went down another 1%, down to 34%. The flows from both the Salt and the Tunnel Creek have slowed. Salt's about 60%. Tunnel Creek is about 10%. So just, we're getting into that November time frame where things get real calm at Roosevelt. Water is very clear. Don't forget, in clear water, you want to use light-colored baits. White and blue-colored baits are the ones you want to use in clear water. And if you're fishing any type of plastic stuff, you want to get translucent materials rather than opaque.
Yes, and don't forget the color purple. Not that I'm a Whoopi Goldberg fan. I'm just saying.
Purple will work great at any depth, especially on some of the deeper fish we're talking.
Maybe that'd be another good bait, the Hoopy Shad.
The Hoopy Shad. There we go.
Yeah.
Hey, I was talking to some crappie anglers down in Tonto Basin, Kerr Rambo and Art Chamberlain, and they're kind of feeling that this is the best year of crappie fishing in the fall that we've had in 5 years on Roosevelt Lake. So we called Game and Fish and talking to some of those anglers, and nobody can really pinpoint a single factor that is doing that. But everybody's referring to the Florida strain bass who are restocked into Roosevelt, and maybe those fish are starting to have some kind of input because it seems like crappie fishing is better. Guys are talking about catching the limits of crappie again, which we haven't heard forever. I mean, it could be just a natural cycle of, good years and bad years of crappie fishing.
Well, James, they are cyclical. Are they reporting schools of bluegills yet?
Yes.
Okay.
For the first time in a few years,
good.
Hearing reports of bluegill now. So check those crappie out. 20 feet of water. Guys are still vertical fishing for them, but there's just good fishing on there.
Okay. Hey, James, I got a real important question for you. Are the elk still talking up there at night?
Well, I'll tell you two things. The short answer to your question is this week, no. It seemed like, it kind of shut down. Last week we did hear some bugling at night. No. But the funny story is this morning, just an hour ago, we were sitting out here having coffee, and here comes that huge 6'5" bull walking through our backyard. He was probably 20 yards away from the house, and so we all ran up on the deck and got some pictures of it. But the bull, and this was strange, JK, no cows, and it didn't look like it's in rut. You know how they kind of droll and they just look mean when they're in rut?
Yeah.
But I don't know if he's past
Dave.
rut. What?
If he didn't have any cows with him, he's either A, over the rut and he's just resting and he's by himself, which happens. They separate and they start just to go to resting. So he's bedding down somewhere all day and all night he feeds, and you're just a transition from where point A to point B for him because they don't go far after they're done with the rut.
Did you say transition or
transgender?
Yeah.
Transition. Don't go there.
All right.
And you're right. I mean, he walked through the yard, down the driveway, across the road, and headed down on the other side. And we've seen him last couple of days, but this is the closest we've seen him to the house. Kind of nice having coffee in the morning, just watching him walk by.
James, they do like apples.
Yes, they do. And acorns and corn.
Not going there, guys.
Salt Lake.
Probably one's already gone.
Yeah. Big trouble. Don't want to feed elk.
Cool.
Right. Can't do that.
He's the only guy that I know that has his own pet 6x.
Yeah.
Nice.
Maybe he'll name it, and then we'll have it. Maybe that's what we should do.
Oh, yeah.
Don't hunt the elk. Yeah.
I get it.
Okay, never mind.
All right, moving along.
Yeah, hey, moving along, last couple of weeks up on the rim, if you want to go up and do some trout fishing up on the rim, it is getting cold, and I even got a report that it was near freezing on one of the lakes up on the rim. So you're kind of running out of time if you want to do that.
Yeah, all right. Speaking of running out of time, God love you, man. I appreciate your input. It's always perfect, man.
Great show, Don.
We'll talk to you next week. James Guggenauer, check him out. Rim Country Custom Rods, the master rod builder himself. I'm Don McDowell.
Special K.
Indeed you are, and we'll be right back.
Don't go away. More of Shake, Rattle, and Troll is coming up.
There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly.
All right, JK, we're going to get this thing closed out.
We had an ambitious agenda this morning, and it was thoroughly accomplished.
I think so. I think the main message today is, guys, we need to get off the couch. We need to go vote. We need to preserve our heritage. Voting for Donald J. Trump, I put an awful lot of thought and investigation into some of the things that we hold near and dear, and national security, border security, military, rebuilding the military readiness. We have to have that.
Absolutely.
We don't have it now. It's been taken away. Joe Biden's trying to get us in a shooting war with Mr. Putin. And he's doing a fine job.
We would lose.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, I think the main thing is we have to protect what we've built, and the sporting community, especially on the bullet side, is very good at raising money, putting money on the ground. And
we need to start putting money in. And Donald Jr. had it exactly right, and that is that the environmentalists, the CBD, the Sierra Club, defenders of wildlife, they are hunting us. And we as sportsmen, while we love
need to hunt them back.
Yeah. Well, we have to divert, and as painful as it sounds, our guys have to become involved and step up and say, enough. You have badgered us. And that's why our groups don't vote Democratic, and that's because the enviro litigants own the Democrats.
Exactly.
They do everything they want them to do. Where do you think these 4 million acres are coming from? It's not from Democrats. It's coming from enviro litigants who own the Democrats. That's what goes on in the Beltway. That's what makes us so sick of Democrats. It is not a particular agenda. It's the fact that the enviro litigants own them, and they're going to tell them that we should be off the land.
That's where it's coming from. It's coming out of the White House.
Yeah, it is.
Bears Ears, the Grand Canyon Monument, that's not on the Republican side of life. That's coming from the enviro litigants.
Well, and plus the fact that they know they have their little pet projects all the time. That cash cow called the EA, Equal Access to Justice Act, which makes them money. Why not?
Which goes back to failed management of the Fish and Wildlife Service, the Forest Service, the BLM. Department of Interior is corrupt as Loretta Lynch, and heading up DOJ.
Yep.
Dan Ash is going away.
Thank God.
Well, yeah, thank God he's leaving the Department of Interior, but he's taking a high-level position at the Humane Society.
Oh, that's right. That's right. He went to the Humane Society.
This is pay-to-play.
Oh yeah,
stuff that's going on.
They shuffle positions.
Exactly.
Yeah. They're scratching backs that shouldn't be.
Yeah. So we've got, the banquet, the ADA banquet's coming up first year.
February 25th.
What are all the nuances?
We're going to do it early this year, February the 25th. We're going to have a short banquet. It's not going to be an extended one. We're going to be, there's going to be music and dancing afterwards. We're going to just pipe in music, and everybody can stay and kick back, have drinks, and relax after the banquet. It's going to be a great time. It's early this year, and I think we've found the success in terms of having a limited number of quality items rather than a boatload of items and raffles that, you either win something valuable or you get a 5-gallon water jug, which nobody wants anymore. So we're curtailing it down, we're trimming it so people aren't bored, and people can just get together, have a good time, and enjoy themselves for an evening.
Well, last year we had a number of high-level, high-quality shooting platforms.
Oh, yeah.
There wasn't a junk gun anywhere.
Oh, no. No. Nothing under $500 from any of our weapons.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. Mr. Stalkup still owes me. I keep drawing his name out.
That's good stuff. How much are the tickets, and where's it going to be held at?
Well, we're going to have it at Rustler's Roost again, and I think we settled on $60 or $65. I can't remember exactly, but we're trying to keep it low, have a great meal. It's freshly cooked. It's right there, and everybody lines up, brings it in, sits down at the picnic tables, has a great time. It's low key, it's informal, and it's good for wildlife.
Excellent. The AZSFWC has a raffle, or have some Aircom radios.
Yep, the radios out
this time.
Yep. And all you have to do is go to the website, and you'll see that the raffle tickets are up there. And quite frankly, all of us donate our time, and this is helping to cover the costs, because all the money for the license plates is dedicated to only license plates. We can't spend it anywhere else, unfortunately. So it's either habitat. It's very defined as to where the license plate money goes, but the AZSFWC itself needs to fund itself, and that's where the raffle goes.
Okay. Anything on your side of life relative to any of the movements on the monuments, be it here, Utah, or elsewhere?
You know, I'm holding my breath. That when Mr. Obama leaves office, he decides not to sign one or two of the ones that we're most critically aware of.
Well, we've got 3 here in Arizona. What are your thoughts on the 160,000-acre Sedona monument?
Sedona, I know the people in Sedona would probably enjoy it. I mean, they're that dumb, and they're all wrapped up in that paradigm that they do and all the...
There's a vortex there,
Yeah, I know. It's the vortex, whatever. But I'm really upset about potential for the Grand Canyon Monument and the Bears Ears. Those are the two that I don't want.
Sonora's $500,000. Quite frankly, I don't see the need for that other than to take shooters off the landscape.
Well, that's what they want to do. I mean, you look at all the monuments we've got. We've got, 17 of them already?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do we need another monument? We don't. It's silly. Sooner or later, we're going to run out of land. I mean, as much as they're scoping off that you can't touch.
There. I mean, we're pushing the limits with 85%.
And you watch the road closures.
Oh yeah.
When they do a monument designation, you watch what gets shut down.
That's a given. We'll have a full frontal attack on Tonto National Forest on a couple of multiple fronts with Salt River Project and their failed ability to manage the waters. Look. Salt River Project does a good job. They're working on a 1939 document.
Yeah.
You think things have changed?
Just a tad.
Yeah. From a social impact, we've gone from 64,000 residents to well over 3 million. Nothing's changed.
Yeah, 6 million in Arizona.
Yeah.
So it's a big difference.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff going on. We're getting a lot of views from Utah. Those guys are...
I'll tell you what, Utah has got some powerful money that's going to fight the feds all the way, which is what we missed out on.
Yeah.
Maybe we did it the wrong way attempting 5 years ago, but
it's not too late.
I know, but everybody has to belly up to the bar and go, you're right. We need money to
fight. If the Democrats get in the White House, it is too late. The game is over.
I'm holding my breath, Donnie.
Yeah, I firmly believe that. November 9th, like I said earlier, we've got a decision to make on which the fight's still going to be there. It's going to be a little bit easier on the Republican side, and it's going to be more damning and almost impossible to win the battles on the Democratic side.
Yeah.
Because, the Second Amendment...
the Supreme Court. All of that's going to go downhill.
The board... One thing we talked to Trump Jr. about, we've got 25,000 plus or minus square miles. 25, think about that, 25,000 square miles that we as hunters are at risk because of the border security issue.
Yeah. And when the federal government's putting up signs telling you to be careful and that you might think about going somewhere else because this area is not secure.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like you're living, it's America with a K.
Yeah.
It really is. This isn't the United States that we grew up in. Where's the security if you're told to stay out of an area because there's dangerous elements here?
Well, hopefully this can be fixed. Sheriff Joe's facing some uphill battles with his legal issues, but, Donald Trump said it best yesterday at his rally. We need to support Sheriff Joe because he supports what we believe in.
Yeah.
And he's done a good job.
He has. Oh, yeah. Nobody wants to go into Sheriff Joe's tent city.
No.
Which means all the best things for us. If it's a deterrent for somebody to want to go there, then you better play the straight and narrow. By the way, I'll miss you next Sunday, but I'll be thinking of you. Unless we get real lucky real early.
Yeah. So... Yeah, that starts on Friday.
Starts Friday morning, first light.
Well, hopefully by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that'll be
said and done.
Liver and onions and some fried potatoes.
I will guarantee you one thing this time. If we get one down, you're getting the liver.
That's good stuff.
I know. I haven't had it forever. And it's a big organ on an elk. On a big bull elk, it's a lot of weight.
How does a guy sign up to be a member of the ADA?
azdeer.org. Go up there. You can sign on there. There's all kinds of stuff. We got documents out. We got our schedule of things that are going on, and we're going to be working on the website all winter long, trying to update it and make sure that it's relevant, because we got so many kids' pictures from that youth camp 3 weeks ago.
Oh, that was awesome. What is in store for the ADA on work projects coming out of the HPC?
Now, we're going to take a look at, I figured it out that I need to work with Joe Curry and some of the other guys at Jarkey and figure out where they've already got planned projects for next year, so that we know now in November where we're going to be in April and May. And they usually are pretty good about saying, okay, we're going to have a project here or there that you can work on.
Are there any plans to put a water catchment in Guggenauer's backyard?
What a great idea. Just outside?
I'm just saying.
Yeah, he thinks he's got elk now.
About 32 yards.
Yeah, just perfectly off his back porch.
Yeah. All right, hey guys, hope you enjoyed the Trump interview. Be sure to get registered to vote if you're not registered already. On the Republican side, vote Trump, protect our heritage. I'm Don McDowell.
Special K.